Wonder Woman is still my favorite DCEU movie by far. It's not even a competition if I'm being honest. Wonder Woman is filled with courage, strength, and more importantly, love. Wonder Woman does such a phenomenal job at branching and fleshing the story out of Diana's character, from the beginning of the movie to the very end. The way they go from showing Diana as this young girl who wants to be an Amazonian warrior, to her becoming a legitimate superhero, it all simply works. There truly isn't a moment in the movie where I feel like it begins to slow down or become lackluster. It just works, and it's such a breath of fresh air after Suicide Squad. As always, I'm your host, Justin, otherwise known as IDontBeatGames, and I'm here to bring that DCEU content right to your monitors. It's hard for me to separate the rose-tinted glasses that I have on when it comes to Wonder Woman. For reference, I've seen this movie at least 4 times in theaters. However, it's easy to see why it's such a good movie after the last 3 movies I've watched for this series. Wonder Woman doesn't misuse flashbacks, rely on a ridiculous amount of exposition, or do things that are horribly questionable. When you look at movies such as Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and Suicide Squad, most of these movies have so many things wrong with them that Wonder Woman looks almost perfect compared to those movies. It is imperfect, but Wonder Woman overall is still a fantastic movie for being honest. It's easily in the top 2 spots, sitting right up there with Wonder Woman succeeds at establishing Diana Prince even in the beginning of the movie when she's a young girl. This is even despite the fact that we do technically get introduced to Diana in Batman v Superman. By starting off the movie showcasing Diana at a young age, Wonder Woman manages to establish a character and movie that actually doesn't need flashbacks later on to explain her growth or reasonings in her future choices. In fact, I was actually shocked after I rewatched this movie for who knows how many times now, and noticed the actual lack of flashbacks. After watching Man of Steel, the last thing I wanted to see again were flashbacks. Can you blame me? My favorite thing about the beginning of the movie is the montage scene that fast forwards Diana's growth. Watching this montage of Diana training as a young girl and seeing her rapidly become this woman of power without the pacing being off felt so refreshing. The pacing for this is something that I appreciated way more now than before because, I'm actively looking for flaws in these movies. Initially, I didn't know how I felt about the introduction for Steve Trevor, the eventual love interest for Diana. He's also a spy, or as he says in this clip,
I am a spy!
My favorite thing about his introduction is that he manages to bring a German army to the Mascara, which causes an all-out war. For what it's worth, the Amazonian warriors absolutely kick their ass. Now normally, I hate when movies kill off characters that seem important in the beginning. It's just something that for me, typically it doesn't work unless you happen to be Batman's parents. Sorry, Bruce. Anyway, Diana's trainer and aunt, Antiope, look, I'm trying my best to say her name, okay? Ends up getting killed in this early on major battle. The way Antiope dies actually makes sense because she goes out protecting Diana. From the beginning of Wonder Woman to this moment, we're shown a relationship between the two that clearly shows that she looks at Diana like her own daughter. We're shown this adorable relationship that builds up to this moment. Of course Diana reacts exactly how you expect her to react. The biggest takeaway from this major moment is that Diana's emotions are genuinely believable. I've spent literally hours now watching DCU movies, and I have to say, this is the first time a movie so far has shown actual depth to their characters. That's the beautiful part about Wonder Woman. You begin to see actual growth and depth in her character. As her and Steve begin to leave and set on their journey to help Diana reach Ares, we're given this adorable, lighthearted interaction.
You go before a judge and you swear to love, honor, and cherish each other until death do you part.
And do they? Love each other till death?
Not very often, no.
The reason why I adore this scene so much is not because of Steve's funny yet harsh answer, hey, don't get mad at me, Steve's right. The simple conversation on their boat ride to London showcases Diana's biggest trait, her ability to love. Throughout this movie, we're shown how much Diana's heart hurts for others and how much she cares about others. Love is what powers her as a person. Love is what pushes her to stand up for what she believes in. And more importantly, love is what grants her the strength to fight for the people she loves. We're given another amazing scene in Wonder Woman, which is arguably my favorite scene throughout the entire DCEU so far, the battle at No Man's Land. The battle at No Man's Land exhibits this changing moment where Steve tries to stop her from helping these soldiers at a battalion. For reference, these soldiers were stuck in the same position at No Man's Land for nearly a year, which is why it has this name. In this moment, Diana sees this mother with her child crying, asking for help. Diana wants to help these people, and Steve tries to tell her that she can't help anyone. That's when Diana uses the love she has within her heart to showcase her ability to be the hero that she's meant to be. I've rewatched this movie I don't know how many times, but even after seeing that scene again, I still get chills. It's a moment where you really get to see Diana stand up for what she truly believes in. This is what she's been waiting for since she was this young girl wanting to be an Amazonia warrior. This is when she begins to become a beacon of hope for people. This is when she becomes Wonder Woman, and this is why I love this movie so damn much. They truly spend time methodically planning out how to build Diana in a way that makes sense. This isn't just some random choice that luckily makes sense. When you look at the other movies we've watched so far, such as Batman v Superman, it's hard to not see the love that's gone into this movie. It's hard to not see the depth that Diana and Steve have compared to Superman in Man of Steel or Batman, who's super questionable in Batman v Superman. As for the villain and story for Wonder Woman, they cleverly used Steve Trevor to create this journey for Diana. Steve being a spy and a pilot allowed them to introduce the two core villains of this movie, Dr. Poison and Ludendorff. This also allows them to build upon the ongoing war that Steve briefly mentions to Diana when they first meet. Steve, being the spy that he is, posed as a pilot for the British Empire. The British Empire found out that General Ludendorff, leader of the German Empire, flew into a secret base of the Ottoman Empire, where Dr. Poison was working on, well, poison. Were you expecting her to be working on something different? Turns out, Dr. Poison and Ludendorff started working together on this secret formula that would kill people. Steve, being the legend he is, single-handedly blew up that secret base. Years later, Dr. Poison and Ludendorff are still working together on this secret formula. The entirety of Wonder Woman builds up Diana and Steve's journey that intertwines both of their core goals. Diana wants to defeat Ares, and Steve wants to get the job done after finding out that they're still working together. My favorite thing about this is that neither of these goals genuinely overlap one another. It's easy for movies to introduce two main characters that have two separate goals and try to showcase both of these goals getting fulfilled. However, Wonder Woman succeeds at building both Diana and Steve up together. Both of them as a whole build each other up to the point where you can see that without each other, they might have not grown into the two heroes that they eventually become. Sure, after No Man's Land, they don't outright say it, but I'm pretty sure they had sex. I personally could have done without it, but you know what? Love is love, who am I to judge? Eventually, Steve and Diana come face to face with both Ludendorff and Dr. Poison at this gala party. Things almost go wrong because Diana was ready to take out Ludendorff right then and there with her Godkiller weapon. To give a bit of backstory regarding the Godkiller, there's a bedtime story Diana was told as a kid that mentions that whoever kills Ares defeats him with the weapon known as the Godkiller. There's a little more to the story, but to keep it simple, Zeus struck a blow to Ares that was so bad, Ares basically hid away because he's whack. This was also after Ares killed a bunch of gods. Zeus created the Godkiller so that if Ares came back, that weapon could be used to kill Ares. Keep this in mind, it'll come back to relevance real soon, don't worry. Diana believes that Ludendorff is actually Ares. That's why she was so hellbent on wanting to kill him at this party. Steve, although, thinks differently and tries to tell Diana, what if there is no Ares? This, of course, doesn't sit well with Diana. There's a massive turn of events at this party where they shoot a bunch of things with cannons because, you know, this party was at a castle. Diana sees a whole bunch of people dead, and that's when the momentum finally shifts. This third act either works for you or doesn't. In this third act, it builds into this moment where Diana finally goes to kill Ludendorff after thinking not only has Ares corrupted the people, but Steve as well. A fight finally breaks out between Ludendorff and Diana, which leads to her finally saying the thing.
I am Diana of Themyscira.
Diana finally goes all out on Ludendorff after everything she's seen. She literally goes full on superhero and beats his ass. Then when she finally beats him, she thinks it's over. She expected everyone to stop because since she was a kid, she was told that once Ares was killed, all the evil in the world would come to an end. On the other hand, it turns out that she was wrong. Ludendorff wasn't Ares, and she can't believe it. After she kills Ludendorff, Steve finally pulls up and he says something to Diana that's one hell of a hard truth.
Maybe people aren't always good.
Steve, being the legend he is, ends up actually doing what he feels like he needs to do in order to save the world. The army is still going. They're still prepping, trying to use these bombs to kill a bunch of people in this ongoing war. Meanwhile, you guys remember Ares? Well, it turns out that Ares finally decided it was time to reveal himself. When Steve and Diana got to London, they met Sir Patrick Morgan, who was a member of the War Council. He was the one who even helped pay for the trip that Steve, Diana, and Steve's friends, who really aren't worth mentioning to be honest, went on this entire time. They only ever bring up Sir Patrick Morgan like once after this introduction. This might not have worked for everyone, but I like the thought process they likely had. Let's introduce a character who doesn't seem all that important and plant him in the beginning of the movie, only to make it a grand reveal at the end. Going back to the third act though, Diana tries to use the God Killer, and of course, it doesn't work. Come on, you expected a comic movie to have that simple of a solution? Have you ever seen a comic movie before? An all-out fight breaks out between Diana and Ares. As someone who's played Smite, I won't lie, Ares doesn't look all that great. On top of that, there's a few moments in here where he kind of just moves his hands to throw things at Diana. It just looks a bit awkward and I think they could have definitely done better. During this fight, Diana ends up getting picked up by Steve. Diana can't hear Steve, but he's giving her a final goodbye before he goes to sacrifice himself before these bombs are used for the wrong reasons. The fight continues on, but then Ares finally has a momentum shift, or so he thinks. Ares makes Diana watch Steve die, and that's when Diana loses it. Ares doesn't realize it, but he just buffed Diana because we get a flashback used correctly. We find out that Steve told Diana that he loves her. Here, don't believe me?
I love you.
This basically unlocks Diana's true inner strength and she goes absolutely in on Ares. Like she beats his ass. I wish I could actually play the footage with the audio because if you haven't heard it yet, Wonder Woman's theme is so badass. The fight ends with Wonder Woman killing Ares, finally bringing peace to the world. The movie ends with Steve getting the justice that he deserves in one of the final scenes of the movie. Of course, it ends with a monologue as Diana's looking at the photo she was looking for in Batman v Superman. She says this beautiful line and the movie finally wraps.
Only love can truly save the world.
As a whole, I adore Wonder Woman. I love its message of love being the one thing that can truly save the world. I love how much of a hero Steve is without trying to hold Diana's potential back. On top of this, watching Diana grow from this woman that's never truly been exposed to the real world to becoming Wonder Woman is phenomenal. It's not a perfect movie. I know the whole third act is a hit or miss thing depending on the person, but for me, I love everything about this movie. I've seen this movie so many times, and I love how much they built up the importance of love within Diana. We're given so many small interactions that build up to a final moment where we see how much love truly means to her. It just works, you know? In case you can't tell, as of this point in the series, Wonder Woman is the #1 movie. That's followed by Batman v Superman, Man of Steel, and finally, yet forgettably, Suicide Squad. It's really not that much of a competition. Who am I kidding? Wonder Woman, since the day it's released in theaters, has been arguably my favorite DC movie. It still is till this day, and I am so excited for its sequel, Wonder Woman 1984. It does so many things right. You can tell it was thought out from the beginning of the movie till the very last scene of the movie. And more importantly, Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman was such a perfect choice. Now, if you don't mind me, I have a few more videos to work on, including my special Christmas video. Also, I'm about to go listen to Wonder Woman's theme on repeat. How do you feel about Wonder Woman? Let me know in the comments below. As always, I'm your host, Justin, otherwise known as IDontBeatGames, and I'm here to bring that DCEU content right to your monitors. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button. If you really enjoyed this video, hit that sub button. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, write a comment down below. Don't forget to keep it real with peace, love, and positivity.